Our final game this week comes from Amsterdam, where the stands were certainly full at the arena as Ajax looked to move on quickly from the disappointment of last season. They hosted a Heerenveen side playing a first competitive fixture under new coach Robin van Persie, and who began in confident, fluent fashion in trying to find a way through the Ajax backline. Early food for thought for the record champion's own debutant in the dugout. Francesco Farioli has become Ajax's sixth different manager since Erik ten Hag departed in the summer of 2022. That's as many as in their previous 13 seasons combined. His side were playing their part in an open start to the game. The Italian made a number of changes from Thursday night's 1-0 win at Panathinaikos in their Europa League qualifier, leaving a number of regulars in reserve to freshen things up. 19-year-old Mika Götze was one of those brought into the starting lineup, and he was involved in the big early talking point when brought down by Pavel Bosniewicz. The match was in just its 12th minute when referee Bas Nijhuis reached straight for his red card. He felt that although the defender got something on the ball, he also took out Götze, who was heading towards goal, and thus denied him an obvious scoring opportunity. The VAR Jeroen Manshoot had a different interpretation though, believing because the ball was travelling away from goal, the offence didn't come into that category. The chance of a reprieve for Robin and his side came courtesy of the video review that was recommended. On second viewing, Nijhuis concurred with the VAR's conclusion and downgraded the colour of the card. There was still the chance for Ajax to apply some further punishment of their own from the free kick that followed, but Steven Berghuis was narrowly off target in his attempt to do so. Ajax are rebuilding again after last season's fifth place finish, their lowest for 24 years, and their joint lowest points total in 30 years. The fact that Farioli's reign began in the second qualifying round of the Europa League added to the early season difficulties. They trained in Greece before heading back home after that latest midweek tie, and were at least creating chances here. Götze just unable to finish off some positive play from Anton Gay. A huge 61 Eredivisie goals conceded last season, their most since the late 1950s. Spoke of the defensive deficiencies that Farioli has inherited since leaving Nice to take charge of this team. He gave a debut to 18-year-old Dies Janse at left-back, and that much-changed back line was certainly being troubled by Daniel Carlsbach. But in Heerenveen, Ajax were at least facing one of their favourite opponents. They'd only lost one of the club's previous 30 Eredivisie meetings, although that was the last one in February. And they went ahead here before half-time. It owed much to the fine work of Götze, who was unselfish in teeing up Christian Klintsen to thumb home the finish. The Icelandic international scored 7 times in the top flight in a breakthrough season last term, and looks likely to have an important part to play under the new management. This was a fine goal that hinted at the Ajax of old, and certainly offered reason for optimism heading into half-time. In fact, there was very nearly another for them just before then. Ajax and Götze were again in first-half added time. He picked out Branko van den Bomen on this occasion, only for the former Heerenveen player to hit the post. Chuba Akpom putting the rebound a fraction wide. Remarkably, Ajax had scored at least 4 goals in each of their previous 10 home league games against Heerenveen, and suddenly extending that record-breaking run looked a possibility again in front of the watching national coach Ronald Koeman. That was until a second-half showing which failed to feature opportunities quite as frequently. It remained only 1-0 going into the last 20 minutes, when Klintsen had another sight of goal. This one more comfortable for Mickey van der Hart. There was another facing a former club. Ajax certainly sensed they might need a second. Farioli brought on summer signing Bertrand Traore, a goalscorer against Vojvodina of Serbia in the previous qualifying round of the Europa League. He just failed to get to this as Klintsen attempted to turn provider. Ajax's first Italian boss was unhappy afterwards that his much-changed team selection appeared to have been leaked and was published publicly a day before the game. Farioli promised a thorough investigation into how that happened, but was positive about much of his team's performance. They were running out of time to extend their advantage by now, but had a big shout for a penalty waved away in the last few minutes. Sir Brian Brobby was convinced this was a handball by Mats Kurlet just behind him. But more pertinently, referee Nijhuis wasn't. He didn't give the penalty, and nor did VAR step in this time. So still, only one goal separated them deep into stoppage time. Robbie's only just returned to Ajax action after a summer spent in Germany at the Euro, albeit primarily on Koeman's bench. Last season's 18-goal top scorer is still trying to get up to speed again in the Eredivisie, pulling this one wide. Even later still, Traoré brought a smart stop from Van der Hart with what proved to be the very last action of a contest that went to the wire, although it was one Ajax deservedly ended up winning. They start with a victory for the fifth Eredivisie season running. A familiar adversary on the receiving end, some positives but no points for Van Persie at the start of his new role. 1-0 enough for Ajax.